Hello again. I'm Ricky Jackson, and this is the Keeping It Real ER Stories Part 2. At the end of this, if you leave a comment with a question, I'm going to pick one question at the end of the session to answer for the next Keeping It Real ER Stories. But nothing like what's the craziest thing you've ever seen, because I've seen way too much. It's been a little bit since I've done this, and I think I've decided that it's fair to say that before and after the full moon is when you're going to see me more frequently, and during the full moon, of course. But I'll still randomly put things out in between when I can. All right. First part, retired prostitutes. They flirt with me all the time. Prostitutes and retired prostitutes. But recently, a couple days ago, I had a very aggressive retired older prostitute. She stared at me for like 8 hours straight. At one point, she came up to the desk and was trying to talk to me all nice and tried to be slick, like, "Oh, what's your number?" Right? And I was like, "I can't give you my number, sorry." She said, "Well, you texting those hoes?" I was like, "Look, we ain't gonna go ahead with that, But she was a sweet person. She had some issues, but she was a sweet person. Everything worked out for her, whatever. You can't judge a person by anything because if you're not wearing the shoes, how you gonna say it? Second, I come across all sorts of tattoos all the time, whether they be gang tattoos, white supremacy tattoos, whatever, right? Tribal, whatever. I don't judge anybody for any of their tattoos. Like when you have white supremacy tattoos, you could have been in jail and you had to survive. It could have been when you were young and you learn later. We all, whatever. But of course, there's going to be people that come in with the white supremacy tattoos and they're rude assholes and they're showing and they're trying to make a point. So this guy, getting ready to take him upstairs, he had his gown on backwards and amongst other stuff, like shoes messed up, trying to help him out with whatever. He's being rude. He says no, I'm gonna wear my gown like this. It's on. I got one on. All right, okay. All right, you wanna go upstairs like that? Let's go. Take him upstairs to the mental health ward, right? With his gown open in the front, all them tattoos flashing all on his. Yeah, as soon as we go in there, there's a table of like 5 big black dudes. And guess what they're zoned in on? Homeboy and his tattoos. And guess what he was doing? Oh. Bet you want that gown now, don't you, buddy? Good luck. Part 3. When people come to the emergency room and demand dental care right then and there, we're not a dentist. But this story gets a little bit more extreme. We had a patient come in and demand not just dental work, but he wants his goals, and he wants them now. The funny part about this story is I had to play a joke on a new doctor. He never seen this patient before and seen his aggression and random things that he'll demand. So I go up to the doc, or I get somebody else in on it with me, back me up on one thing, whatever. So I go up to the doc and say, "Hey, I'm Ricky. Nice to meet you." He says, "Hey, nice to meet you." I said, "Do you have blah, blah, blah patient?" He says, "Yeah, how can I help you?" I said, did he tell you about his gold teeth?" He said, "Yeah, he told me about the gold teeth." I said, "Well, did you consult the orthodontist?" He said, "Consult the orthodontist? Is that protocol?" I said, "You didn't consult the orthodontist?" He said, no. I said, "Where are you from, man?" He said, "I'm from Charlottesville." I said, "Oh, that's why." See, in Richmond, we have a lot of gold teeth, and we make sure we take care of our gold teeth around here. And then we kind of had like a little, and I looked over at the other person, it was like, "Orthodontist, right? You're supposed to pay." He was like, "Yeah, consult orthodontist." Yeah. We had like a little, looking at each other for a little bit, and I guess he was trying to figure me out, like, is this guy serious? I couldn't keep the straight face too long, though. I had to let it out. But it was a good little prank. Consult the orthodontist about the gold teeth. And that's it for the Keeping It Real ER Session 2. Holla at your boy. Talk to you soon. La 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 la.